Hello, I'm Ollie, and this is Crim and Ollie, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, horror, I'm doing a review of Horrorstör by Grady Hendrix. So this is one of the books I read for week one of Horror Mayhem, which was themed around kind of supernatural beings and creatures and stuff like that, and this definitely fit the bill. So the first thing to talk about with this book is the design of it, because obviously it goes out of its way to be interesting design-wise. So it is designed to look like an IKEA catalogue. And they carry that all the way through. There's even like a map of the store, and within it you get like the chapter starts have illustrations of bits of furniture and things like that. And there's also there's coupons at the back. There's all sorts going on with this, which is a lot of fun and did add to the overall experience of reading it, I have to say. And it fits because it is set in not an IKEA but a store called Orsk, which is like a rip-off IKEA basically. So the premise for the book is there's this chain of these stores called Orsk. In one of them, weird stuff's been happening overnight. So feces has been has been found on one of the sofas. And there's been vandalism in the bathrooms. The stuff's been broken. So the manager of the store, who's this kind of stuffed shirt type character, persuades the character who's basically the heroine of the book, whose name completely escapes me now. I'm going to check what it was. I'm really bad at preparing for these things, aren't I? Is it Amy? Amy. So the heroine of the book is this woman called Amy who works in the store, who's a bit of a rebel, and quite an amusing character, a bit of a joker. And she gets asked to stay behind with this other employee and the manager to try and figure out what's been happening overnight. And what has been happening overnight clearly is spooky goings on because it's a horror novel. There's some other characters that get involved as well, so some other employees who are staying overnight for their own reasons. And basically it's about what happens just in the course of that night, so them investigating what's going on and getting to the bottom of it. And it's not what I would call a scary book. It certainly didn't scare me, but it's a great deal of fun, and the premise for what is happening is interesting as well. So basically, this is a minor spoiler, but I don't think it's too much of a spoiler. So basically the store has been built on the grounds of what was like this kind of weird experimental prison, where all sorts of strange stuff went on. So it's about the ghosts of the prisoners and things like that seeping back through into the modern day. So Grady Hendrix, I think this was I don't think this was the first book he published, but it was the first book that a first novel, obviously, that I became aware of him through. So I knew about his non-fiction book Paperbacks from Hell. This is the first novel by him that I remember hearing about, and I've had this copy for quite a while and hadn't got around to reading it. I think he's a very entertaining writer. I've enjoyed all but one of the books by him that I read, and this was no exception. So it's fast paced. It's got some good kind of slightly gory horror scenes. It's got a really good premise, and it's got great characters. And I think he does characters really, really well. I've enjoyed, apart from, so the book by him I didn't like so much was the Final Girl Support Group, but all the other books I've read by him, it's really been the characters that I kind of found myself attached to in the books that I like most about the books, and that's definitely true with Amy in this book. And the manager character as well is quite interesting, and he goes on a bit of a journey as the book goes through, as does Amy, and they end up kind of different people to where they started. So it's satisfying from that perspective, and I think he's a good overall writer in terms of that kind of the basics of writing in terms of character development and things like that, as well as clearly knowing a lot about horror and having fun with the horror aspects of things. So there's a lot of kind of references and things like that in this book. There's a lot of stuff around kind of modern popular culture and how modern popular culture treats ghosts and hauntings and that kind of thing, and also a lot of stuff about corporate culture. So stuff about Orsk, this big company, and how they treat their employees, and how the store is designed to get people moving through it in the right way, in order to maximise their shopping experience. And that design of the shop becomes quite important as the book progresses. So yeah, it's a really fun read, and I thoroughly recommend it. If you can get hold of it, I assume there is an ebook. I don't know. I assume there's an ebook version of it. There's certainly an audiobook version of it, but clearly I think it's one of those things that's going to be most enjoyed in the paper form, because it's so entertainingly presented, and it's quite a thing. If I was someone who had coffee table books, it's the sort of thing I'd leave on my coffee table for unsuspecting people to pick up and sort of leaf through and go, "What the hell's this?" So yes, Horrorstör by Grady Hendrix, one of my week one reads for Horror Mayhem. Definitely recommended. A good, fun, light read, not terribly long. It's about 200 pages, 230 pages. So yeah, I whizzed through it in a day, I think, at the weekend. But yeah, a good, fun read. So as always, thanks very much for watching. Let me know if you've read Horrorstör or any other Grady Hendrix books and what you thought of them. As always, hope you're safe and well. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I will speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.